This is clear politics. Hello, just 5 years ago, Germany called itself the workshop of the world, but today it's more like a workshop manual on how to destroy your own economy. Strikes and layoffs are the new economic reality for what was once the EU's powerhouse. Auto giants are shutting down assembly lines, chemical plants are fleeing to China, and politicians are blaming the usual suspects, the Kremlin and global warming. How did Germany lose the war against its own bureaucracy and green madness? We give you the facts. Draw your own conclusions. Many experts call the German authorities' decisions economic suicide, and the financial crisis hit the sector where Germany had been a leader for decades: automobiles. Here are some killer facts for you. Since 2023, Volkswagen's profits have plummeted by almost 50%. 3 plants are in the process of closing. 10,000 employees will lose their jobs. Naturally, they're protesting and even carrying a coffin with the company's name into the streets.
Back in June 2023, Volkswagen announced a cost-cutting program aiming to save 10 billion euros by 2026. The main goal is to reach a 6.5% profit margin for the passenger car division. That's noticeably higher than the 2023 result of 4.1%. Now, Volkswagen's management admits they're several billion euros behind their own savings schedule.
Switching to green energy has been a disaster for Volkswagen. By 2030, the company decided to completely abandon internal combustion engines in favor of electric cars. But it turned out that China is already making them 3 times cheaper.
Amid the crisis, the company decided to look to the past. Volkswagen is open to producing military equipment at its plants, said CEO Oliver Blume. He reminded that the company had previously made vehicles for the army. Besides supplying the Wehrmacht during World War II, Volkswagen also produced the Type 181 for the West German Army.
And it was the Germans themselves who handed over technology to China. In recent years, BMW has opened several factories in China.
In April 2024, the auto giant invested nearly $3 billion in a production base in Shenyang. The first cars are expected to roll off the line there in 2026.
But even those three famous letters went the wrong way. BMW's net profit last year dropped by almost 84%.
At one point, Germany bet big on electric cars. Many companies completely retooled their workshops for EV production, but demand is almost non-existent, for the same reason. One reason for the low demand is that when these technologies were first introduced, the idea was that electricity would be cheaper than gasoline. So buying an electric car would be more cost-effective. It was supposed to help the environment and save money. But those savings are long gone. Germany now has the highest electricity prices in the world.
Mercedes, the third leader, isn't far behind. Their profits fell by 54%. The company is preparing to lay off up to 30,000 people. The reason? Losses in the Russian market and competition from China. A luxury car maker from Dare also filed for bankruptcy, according to Bild.
Many companies have moved to former Soviet republics, Poland, Romania, or China. By shifting production, they've also taken their technology with them. We know Volkswagen and Porsche are building factories worldwide. They were in Russia too. Under Scholz, you could say a collapse happened. One that had been building slowly and might have taken another 10 years, but the escalation of the conflict in Ukraine and their own energy decisions sped it up. They claim Russia took their gas, but actually it's the other way around. Russia didn't take anything, and despite sending Leopards, I think they'd still be buying gas. They won't admit who blew up Nord Stream, and that exposed all the weaknesses in their economic development.
The fall of the auto giants is not just catastrophic, it's also highly publicized. But the energy crisis in Germany is just as severe.
According to Handelsblatt, gas prices in Germany have increased eightfold since 2021. At one point, the price reached 1,000 euros per 1,000 cubic meters. Now, Germans are filling their storage at 600 euros, buying American LNG. Back in the Nord Stream days, it was just $128.
Just imagine, almost 600 German chemical companies have cut production or gone into cold standby. A prime example of this failure is the world-famous BASF.
The flagship of German industry chemical giant BASF announced cuts to capacity, staff, and operating costs at its main site in Ludwigshafen. The CEO cites falling demand as a key reason. The German economy is stagnating, production is down, so less chemical output is needed for all major industries. The state of the chemical industry is a barometer for the country's economy, notes Tillopoulos, pointing out that BASF's financial troubles are a warning sign for all of Germany.
BASF is the world's largest chemical company. They could synthesize anything, from aspirin to rocket components, but they couldn't synthesize the most important thing, cheap gas.
Germany's chemical industry is suffering from high energy prices. This affects chemicals, fertilizers, which they won't buy from Russia or Belarus and can't afford to make themselves. It's the same for medicines, which are based on the chemical industry and so on. Obviously, the auto and metal industries are hit too. So, across all industries, the issue is Russian energy, which they gave up themselves. That's the main problem.
Notably, BASF only shut down production in Germany. China, the US, and other countries are much more profitable for them. It sounds crazy, but that's the reality.
Germans blame the green economy for killing off their industrial giants. German irony: no factories, no emissions, so the environment is better. But even humor can't soften the bitter truth. 78 major companies have closed. The damage to the economy: 210 billion euros, 320,000 jobs lost.
Another symbol of German industry, Bosch, is struggling to stay afloat, not very successfully. Thousands are being laid off too.
German industrial giant Bosch has started cutting employee hours. About 10,000 people now work 35-hour weeks and earn 12.5% less. A 3-day work week isn't far off, but that's not all. The company has fired 1,500 employees. The German economy has already stumbled. It's only a matter of time before it falls off a cliff.
Just last year, the number of industrial workers in Germany dropped by 120,000. Small and medium businesses are especially struggling. Since 2019, the number of insolvent companies in Germany has risen by 52%.
Unemployment in manufacturing has also risen sharply. According to the Federal Employment Agency, it now stands at 285,000. Still, the agency claims the risks here are lower than in other sectors.
Of course, good pills, they're German after all. Everyone's heard that from a relative, and usually Bayer was the company behind Germany's quality medicines.
As part of a major restructuring, Bayer has cut 3,200 jobs since early 2024 and plans more layoffs through 2025 to reduce operating costs. Bayer posted a net loss of 34 million euros in the second quarter.
They invented a headache pill, but not one for stupidity. 9,000 scientists lost their jobs. Some labs have been turned into herbal tea warehouses. It's cheaper that way. And the main achievement of 2024, a record 12 billion euros in losses.
Medicine production is no longer in Germany, and that's a big problem. What's hurting Bayer now is again Russian energy. Bayer is mainly a chemical company, and the chemical industry is very energy intensive. With energy prices up 3 to 4 times, profits have taken a direct hit.
Germans write on forums, looking for a doctor to cure corporations. But while the illness hasn't knocked them out yet, factories are eyeing other countries more and more. It's much more profitable to produce elsewhere. For example, in the US or even Poland.
Many companies are considering moving some production abroad, including to the US. This includes glass, ceramics, chemical, metallurgical, and some petrochemical industries where expensive energy can't be replaced by renewables.
67% of German companies have decided to move production abroad. That's according to a survey last year by the Federation of German Industry.
This process is underway and accelerating. All sectors that relied on energy, chemicals, steel, engineering, and more are closing and relocating. When the government gave up nuclear power, Nord Stream was blown up in 2022, and gas prices hit new highs. Companies waited to see if there'd be government subsidies, but nothing came. And now deindustrialization is happening.
The Airbus plant in Hamburg used to be a dream job for aviation engineers worldwide. Now they're learning Chinese too. The pandemic in 2020 and everything after hit the company hard.
Airbus's main profit fell by 49% in the first quarter this year, down to 281 million euros, while revenue dropped by almost 2 billion. Airbus has already suspended dividends, cut production by a third, and laid off thousands at key sites, including over 3,000 at the Broughton plant in North Wales.
Airbus still hasn't recovered from this crisis. In February 2025, the company closed its cargo division. The famous Airbus A380 was axed. Too expensive. and the company scrapped its hydrogen project after spending nearly $2 billion.
Airbus is suspending its green hydrogen engine project after spending over $1.7 billion on it. 5 years ago, Airbus boldly promised to launch a zero-emission hydrogen plane within 15 years. If successful, it would have been the biggest revolution in aviation since the jet engine, notes the Wall Street Journal. But 5 years later, the plan was dropped. The project is frozen.
Sadly, the funeral march for the German economy could go on. ThyssenKrupp, a steel industry leader, 2 billion euros in losses and 5,000 jobs cut.
Siemens closed 3 turbine plants, losses 5 billion euros, 7,800 employees laid off. Board members called it restructuring and a move to strengthen their defense industry position. Looks like Volkswagen's future tanks have a competitor.
Continental Tires didn't get far on balled rubber either. 8 out of 12 German factories closed. The giant also cut 3,000 jobs. The official reason is to improve competitive advantages. Business endured for a long time, but in January 2025, protests began.
Politicians must finally realize the scale of the crisis and take decisive action. That's why we are calling for an economic warning day. This is a call for politicians to take necessary measures and ensure our country's economic stability, the organizers say. Protesters hold signs reading, "Nuclear energy? Yes, please. Let's save the economy while there's still something to save." The German economy is in danger. High energy prices are costing jobs.
Germany's example is astonishing. Unlike Ukraine or the Baltics, Germans are strangling their own industry. Bans, sanctions, pressure from the Greens, and car makers turning into tank manufacturers.
Orders are pouring into the German defense industry like never before. But there's a problem. Not enough workers. And there's a solution. Lure staff from the struggling German auto industry. For example, Hensoldt, a military sensor systems producer, is taking on experts laid off by Bosch and Conti. The Franco-German defense group KNDS went even further, taking over train manufacturer Alstom, and will use its facilities to make parts for Leopard 2 tanks and Puma IFVs. Defense giant Rheinmetall also faced staffing issues, but is handling them well. In 2024, it welcomed 100 employees who were let go by auto parts maker Continental.
The German government lowered its GDP growth forecast for 2025 to 0. But this is Germany's new reality. That is, last year, police recorded over 217,000 violent crimes.
A new high since 2010. In 2024, violent crime among minors rose sharply. The Interior Ministry reports an increase of over 11% among children and about 4% among teenagers.
There was also a 7.5% rise in violent crimes committed by suspects without a German passport. This group includes tourists, migrant workers, and even refugees.
Statistics show a sharp rise in violent crime. This worries us greatly. Public spaces are becoming more dangerous.
So people are feeling more afraid. And this...
Berlin, this can't go on. I'm scared. The widespread problem of illegal substances in the city is causing chaos and lawlessness in public places. When I take the subway, I have only one thought. God help me get through without any incidents. No drugged, out-of-control, or aggressive people. At the very least, I hope no one relieves themselves in front of me. There are some areas of Berlin I'd rather avoid altogether.
What's next for Germany? The economy's resilience is huge, but even that is running out. At this rate, Germans will be the first in the EU to become a post-industrial country. Without industry, but with wind turbines, migrants, and nostalgia for the days when made in Germany meant something.